can't skip it. You're going to either have to pay it or let it go. And the Cowboys, he coming off of an all-pro season. So ultimately, what you're saying, Cowboy Nation and the front office, even if you let him play out, either, in my opinion, if he is healthy, if Dak Prescott is healthy, he's going to give you 10 or more games. He's going to give you either the same numbers that he had this year or this past season or better. It's just what it is. I don't foresee Dak Prescott falling off. That's just what it is. And it will be a miracle for us to have Trey Lance to give us those numbers and outperform Dak Prescott if you can measure the training camps and preseason and say, okay, well, he outperformed Dak Prescott. And we're going to let him start for the season. It don't work that way. It don't work that way. And I get it. Most people that can't stand Dak Prescott, I get all of that. But they're just not going to give Trey Lance that spot or Cooper Rush. It got to be earned. And fortunately, if Dak Prescott is healthy, he's going to be the quarterback. And all it's doing is just going to create more and more chaos. Because now what you do, you're going to have a two-time all-pro quarterback. And on top of that, that threw for over 4,000 yards, north of maybe or close to 40 touchdowns to maybe 9 to 10 interceptions. And you're just going to let that walk and get nothing back in return. You can't trade him for more and more resources. So you're going to have to do the hard cut. And I ultimately understand what people are talking about, even with the other kid. What's his name? Sierra husband. What's his name? Dang, his name is tipping my tongue. What's Sierra husband name? Russell Wilson. I get what people are saying. He went to the Denver Broncos, and he's supposed to have been a better quarterback than what he was at Seattle. But he went there and alienated himself. There were not a lot of people like, hey, I'm in Russell Wilson corner. We putting up these type of numbers. I think he was there for 2 seasons. And what was their records in the 2 seasons? 2 years Russ. And y'all are trying to compare these two things, and it's not the same. Not the same. I got, this person's name is not on here, but you're live on the nation. I think it's anonymous, man. You're live.
Okay. Oh, hey, Law, I want to say this to you.
Talk to me.
This is one thing that I really have a problem with a lot of people with describing Dak Prescott.
All right, go ahead.
First of all, you said you've been around a while. I've been around a while. I've been a Cowboy fan for a long time. And you guys only go by numbers. Every time I hear you guys talk about Dak Prescott, oh, he throws for this many yards. Oh, right. You know, look at his numbers. And then I had a guy say to me one time, I was comparing him, and I said, you know, Troy Aikman, you know, I remember the days when we had Troy Aikman and stuff like that. You guys only go by numbers.
Right.
Dak Prescott, he will never be successful, and nobody ever talks about this. This is why.
Right.
Because the only thing he does is throw these little short passes, these little bitty short dinky passes, okay? The defensive backs will let him have those passes in the regular season.
Did you do your research on that, average yards per throw, and where he was ranked at?
Because that's run after the catch, though.
No. I'm not trying to cut you out. He averaged 7.7 yards. That is considered standard.
But that's run. If you look at his passes, most of them are run after the catch.
What did Joe Montana do and Tom Brady do in that West Coast scheme?
This is the difference, though, because they could throw the ball down the field consistently.
Was Joe Montana known for a deep thrower?
He could throw.
Was he known for having a strong arm? Joe Montana, Tom Brady?
They were not known for a strong arm, but they were known that they could throw the ball down the field consistently. Dak cannot. When have you seen Dak throw the ball down the field? I'm talking about consistently.
Consistently.
I'm talking about throw the ball to the receivers where they don't even have to break stride.
Let me ask you this, and I hate to cut you off consistently, but I have to at this point. What style of kind of caliber of defense do they play against us when they see 4 under center or when they see 4 shotgun?
What kind of defense?
What style and kind of caliber do teams play on defense when they play against the Cowboys in general since 2018? How do they play us?
Well, most of the time I think they play for the run. You may think they play for the pass. I think they come up and they're more in the run style defense.
What is quarters defense to you, sir? What is quarters defense?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay. Green Bay Packers, how many defenders did they rush us with and were still able to create pressure and get home?
Most of the time it was about 4, and most of the time 4.
Is that sustainable to play any of those quarterbacks that you were going to name?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because I think they can pick, like I say, accuracy. I don't think Dak is accurate.
Since Dak Prescott entered the league, name me the 4 quarterbacks that's ahead of him in accuracy.
Okay, I would name you since he's been in the league.
Since he's been in the league,
I can say Patrick Mahomes.
That's one.
I can say Aaron Rodgers.
That's 2.
I think I know you guys are gonna argue this, but I think Jared Allen.
Nope.
Yeah, I think he has.
No, but you can't think. You going off of feelings or emotions. I'm going off of facts.
No,
he's not on that list.
No, but see what you're doing though. See, but again, this
you know, we talking accuracy or we talking about quarterback completion percentages? There's only 3, and you didn't name them.
Okay, wait just a second though. But this is where you're distorting the thing, because if you throw, which Zach does, he throws little bitty short 5-yard passes. When you talk about Jared Allen, he throws the ball down the field.
Josh Allen, how did they beat us when they played us? The Bills. How did the Bills beat the Cowboys?
Well, one thing, you're going to probably say they beat us by running and stuff like that or something like that.
What did Josh Allen have to do?
What did he have to do?
Yeah.
He did pass the ball.
How many times?
He did, and he threw the ball down the field.
How many times?
I don't even know exactly how many times.
The thing is, and I get what you're saying, and I'm not even trying to defend Dak Prescott in this particular light, but what I'm saying is teams have a concept of playing the Cowboys, and that is by far dropping 6 and 7 DBs and coverages. You are 1,000% right on how you attack quarters defense is your shallow and your intermediate throws. You definitely can't throw over the top of that umbrella. Look at football defense as an umbrella. And if you're trying to attack on the top end of that, it's going to get picked off. You're going to have people in coverages. You're going to have zone beaters, and you're going to have long developing plays. Our offensive line, for once, it haven't been an offensive line that can be sustainable enough for those longer drops and those longer reads. I'm not saying that this is a Dak Prescott issue, but the concept is that we didn't have a run offense to get teams out of those cloud covers or those cover 4s, or even to a degree to how Green Bay was playing us. They play those zones. I love to see Dak Prescott when he plays against teams that play him on man-to-man, because that's where he eats. I love when I see Dak Prescott plays when there's a single high safety over the top and everybody's pressing. Dak Prescott tend to eat off of those coverages. But what they tend to do with Dak Prescott is they say, shoot, we can create pressure with 4, we don't blitz them, and we can still get home. And on top of that, eventually, he would throw where we want him at, and that's where we pick the ball off. That's just how it's been. That's the staple piece. My thing is bring a run game in there so that we can counterattack that and get those boys out of those coverages. But the Cowboys, how do they do that? We got to find run game. We got to. Dak Prescott is a play-action quarterback, in my opinion, that needs run game to help balance him out, not just this guy that's going to draw back and throw it all over the field.
But let me ask you this. Haven't you been there when Troy was there back in those days?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying to you is I get what you're saying, but this is what I'm saying to you. Everybody talks about run game. You look at Ezekiel Elliott, when we have Ezekiel Elliott, and this is another thing that I have a problem with. Every year, and I got to say, Law, I've been on a lot of channels with you and a couple of people like Mark Holmes and people like that. They get upset when you say anything about Dak. But I tell you this, I got to say, I really appreciate you, because I think you look at it objectively. But I will say this, what I don't like is when people, every year, when the Cowboys have problems, except for you, these other people, they get hurt if you say anything about Dak Prescott and they say you are Dak haters. But they criticize everybody else now. They criticize everybody else. And so, to me, they are everybody else haters, if you're going to go by their logic. They criticize, and when you can't say one thing about Dak and everybody gets hurt. The problem that I see is in the playoffs. When you look at San Francisco, like
right.
I say, these defensive backs, they come up on these short passes.
Right.
They force him to throw over the top. And to me, I don't think Dak is accurate enough to throw the ball down the field consistently. Now, I know he can do it.
Right,
this
right.
past year was, to me, was his best year of doing that. But to me, I don't understand why we can't bring somebody in and let them legitimately challenge Dak, legitimately challenge him. And to me, these people don't want anybody to even challenge him. Because if you say one thing about the guy, they act like Dak is the savior.
Well, that's been a situation. The thing is, when you bring up Troy he only had one season that he threw for over 20 touchdowns, right? And I know it's a different kind of element of era that he played in. He never he never won MVP. He never, and I'm not beating up Troy, because to me, Troy is my favorite quarterback of all time that ever wore silver and blue. I love his leadership. I love his command. But you talking about Troy Aikman also had the 90s offensive line plus Emmett, even in any of those playoff games, that when you look at Emmett, he still holds the record to this day of 19 touchdowns in the playoffs. He still holds a record far as playoff average yards ran, and comparable to what Troy was able to do. There's been multiple documented times that even Jimmy Johnson said, we can't put this in the hands of Troy. We got to put this in the belly of Emmett. And granted, that was a complete team, because I truly believe we needed Troy's leadership. We needed Troy's focus. But at the end of the day, he still had an all-time guy like Emmitt Smith, and as well as the playmaker. We haven't had that here. And I'm not beating up Ezekiel Elliott nor Tony Pollard, but they ain't Emmitt Smith, and we didn't have that 90s offensive line here.
One more question. Don't you think we need to draft, people talking about receivers, but I think we need to draft a center and a offensive tackle. I like Jackson Powers Johnson, if we could get him.
Right. And
I like Amarius Mims. I think those two would be the anchor of the offensive line for a long time. What do you think about that?
Amarius Mims, he would be a raw guy. He don't have the immense amount of talent far as experiences, but he do have a pedigree far as his length and his size and what he could become, But at this time, I think that if you were to just put them in a room together, Awesome Richards probably outperform him from an aspect of he already been in his system, right? But Amarius, he will be a guy that will have to grow and develop, and we will have to go through a year of growing pains. But far as upside, he have that. Far as the center, I think the world of him. Unfortunately, there's a team that's in our division would do anything and everything that could be possible to draft him, because they get a chance to draft right in front of us, and they need a center. So I would like Powers kid. I think that that would help Dak Prescott out or help Trey Lance out for the future to be able to climb the pocket, to go through their progressions, and also for us to get back to running through A-gap again. I think he'll bring that dog nasty mentality there, and that would be a good for us. That would be a good situation for us.
All right, Lawhead, well, I want you to know I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your show. I watch you every day, man. Thank you.
Hold on. Before you roll, I need for you to tell me or allow the audience to know, where do I stand with Dak Prescott? Where do you think I stand with Dak Prescott at? Mm-hmm.
I think that you're fair about him. I think that I can hear your point. And like I say, I appreciate, when I hear somebody make a logical argument, you actually educated me on some stuff, and I really appreciate that. I think you are fair about him. I think that, he's the starting quarterback. I think until somebody beat him out, he is the starter. I think you're behind him. I think you want to give him a chance. So I don't think you're being unreasonable. I really don't. There are some other people that I think that are unreasonable, but I think you're reasonable about him. So I actually appreciate your point.
I appreciate you, man, for calling in. Yes, indeed. That's a good call from my guy.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Good call from him. He called in. And my thing is, I get when people don't understand what a quarters or what people, and let me say it this way. They are not playing that kind of style of defense because they disrespect Dak Prescott. They play that way because they respect his arm, they respect his read ability. So that's why when you have teams sitting on routes and able to just sit their DBs down and play that deep cover defense, because they ultimately respect them. It's not like they disrespect them. What they disrespect ultimately is the run game. I told y'all, even with Zeke, and I'm not beating up Zeke, he averaged 2.1 yards per tote in the playoffs. You're not going to win playoff games that way. Zeke's not even here. So ultimately, the thing is, when you don't have in last season, y'all let me know what we were able to do. What we are able to do in run game against Green Bay. It's for dog sure a different type of world. It opened up so much on that playbook of what even my guy Jordan Love was able to do. When Aaron, not Rodgers, but Jones, he was averaging, ladies and gentlemen, 9 yards before contact. The time that we get a running back to at least on average give us 4.5 or 5 yards before contact, shoot, Dak Prescott can open up a raise of arsenal, of throws. But you take away the run game and you only say to yourself that Dak got to take it all and win it all, you ain't gonna win. There's empirical and historical data shows that Dak Prescott, if you put all of that on him, look, I like you, Dak, but you ain't gonna win. You ain't gonna win.
You ain't lying.
He needs run support. He needs to be able to take that safety that's sitting on the roof down out of that and get down in the box. They need to have the ability to switch out some of those DBs or safeties that's playing as linebackers and put actual linebackers on the field so that we can get our play action game going, so that we can utilize the middle of the field and also give us some counter plays on some 9 routes. But teams sit back and say, okay, we just gonna drop them. We'll give you the underneath. We'll give you some small to intermediate crosses. Because there's no threat of the run. We will lean on the tendencies. Look, C.J. Stroud, he did a great job against Cleveland. Beat the brakes off for them. But when the Ravens looked at that tape and they said, you know what? These boys' tendencies, they're not running the ball. Let's drop them. Let's drop them all in coverage and force C.J. Stroud to play. He may kill us a little bit with his legs, but we're going to force that team to play us and win it with his arm. And he couldn't get it done. And yes, he was a rookie. But what was the first move they did? They went and got Joe Mixon. I'm not saying that Joe Mixon is the end-all, be-all. And I'm for sure, if you're a Texans fan, you would still want the Texans to draft a running back. And lo and behold, that's what they probably going to do. Because C.J. Stroud lost that game against the Ravens because they didn't have run game. They turned that team into a one-dimensional team.